I've decided to do a run on Death March, already gone through on Blood and Broken Bones, and I'd mistakenly made the assumption that on Death March you have to not lose any lives, otherwise you start again from the beginning, because that was the case for one of the more difficult levels on Witcher 2, but actually in this one it's just tougher monsters and Geralt's easier to kill. So I thought, why not give it a go? If I do die by falling off a building, then at least I haven't lost anything. Although I will probably try and go through without losing any lives if I can, without losing my life if I can. So I do have some Witcher 2 saved games, but I'm not going to use any of them because I can't remember. I've played it a few times and I can't remember which one ends in which way. So opening sequence in this game is of the war, and mostly on the periphery, and that is Yennefer and Geralt and Vesemir just tracking what's happened to her. Presumably quite accurately, because they're good at doing that. Yennefer's bird helping her escape. So it's a conjured bird, which we have seen her do in the books as well. And they are still tracking. Yennefer's a really powerful mage. In the book she doesn't lose her powers, so we're not too worried about her in this scenario. It will be exhausting for her, but we're not worried that it's dangerous. And actually it's really nice to see Yennefer in the games, because hitherto Geralt's love interest has mainly been Triss, with a few flings on the side. And Triss is, of course, lovely, but my impression from the books is very much that Geralt and Yennefer are each other's true love. Is it because of his wish, or are they made for each other? So she manages to jump onto a horse and flee, and this is more or less where the tracking scenes finish. She's too fatigued to keep the conjured bird going. All of this, of course, helps anyone who's tracking her, because they can see the evidence of what's been left behind and pick up on her route. So, good for Vesemir and Geralt. And Geralt's now having a beautiful dream that he's in a steaming hot bathtub in Kaer Morhen. Quite a famous scene. I've seen reproduced on birthday cakes and all sorts. So it's the first time we've seen Yennefer at Kaer Morhen, and the fact that that tied in with the fact that we just saw Geralt falling asleep, and the fact that we don't have any backstory for Geralt and Yennefer being on such good terms does make one think that it is a dream. And that being the case, you can have a good look around the room, but there's not a massive amount of point in looting anything because it won't still be there afterwards. But it does give us a bit of information about Yennefer and their relationship, so it's worth having a bit of a look round. Yennefer always wears her obsidian star. Okay, so we're going to have a look around for the door key, and I'll also have a look at other bits and pieces in the room. So there's the key, easy. But a few other bits are flashing up, so let's have a look at them. Yennefer always smells of lilac and gooseberries. And she always wears black and white. So we've learnt a little bit about Yennefer just from having a wander around the room. Have a quick look at the view, which is very pretty but shows that actually it's really run down and could use a little bit of work, but beautiful. So we have the key, and we have to, from what we've just heard, go and rescue Ciri from Vesemir's tutorial. So Vesemir has nodded off. And Ciri's training. So we have an option here, don't get mad or we've spoiled her. I think we've spoiled her is probably fairer. So my gameplay in general is very much how I think Geralt would have answered and how I think he would act. So Siri's doing some pretty good work here. She's a young version of Siri, so that's another indicator that it's a dream. And there's a section in the book where they talk about her with the pendulums and how to use them in her favour. This is quite amusing though. So giving her a really hard time, even though she's done all of that with the blindfolding. Apologies not enough, I think. So I'll run the walls, although I'm not sure I want to do the full tutorial. And of course, being older than Siri, I am generally faster than her. Now, previously, it would have been, I don't know if I'm going, oh yes, I am going the right way. Previously, you would have died pretty easily if you missed any of these elements. But I think with the next generation update, they have very much fixed it so that you don't die if you fall from a very low height, which is great, because that's something that I tend to do quite a lot, but it also saves time when you're on various quests and have to climb to the top of lighthouses, and you can just jump off all the way to the bottom, which is really handy. So Geralt very much father figure to Ciri. Got Lambert and Eskel.
Anything to say for yourself, young lady? I'm very sorry, Uncle President. Young blood craves action, I understand that. But when you fight a beast, knowledge counts as much as your service. At the very least, you want to be able to tell a bull from a mountain. By markings, my country will have their entire residents Arcadian dwells, and my sinking canal is in its visage. Still, you should have asked if worse, Uncle President.
So Ciri proving that she has done the homework and has remembered it really, really well, and is smart. But also a bit of a smart ass. So I think I'll go straight to free training so that we can skip the tutorial. Now, there is an achievement that you can get fairly early on, which Well done, Ciri. She's a bit grumpy, and she is a bit spoiled. But I think her background and upbringing probably haven't helped it that much. Geralt just giving the dummy evils. Wondering what's underneath. It's the Nafalga, the ship of fingernails. And the Wild Hunt. And then we will load and realise that it was just a dream, and Vesemir and Geralt are under the tree again. Pretty stressful dream for him. Often when he's had dreams about Ciri in the past, it's been because she's been feeling a strong emotion, either extreme happiness, fear. So Yennefer's not well liked by the other witches, and she is a bit of an abrasive personality, particularly compared with Triss, who is just very sweet. So I think that's what Geralt would say. And they did teach Ciri to be a brilliant fighter, and Yennefer then taught her to control all of her magic at the Temple of Military. mean, that's very flirty, a bit of an invitation.
That's private. Very private.
I don't think Garrett would share.
I understand. Maybe not entirely, but perhaps that's the best. And on topic. How's the book? How far behind yet for Obi? 3 days. You have fresh. Looks like it needs towards the lead. We've won there. Wait, hear that?
So, because I'm going to try not to lose any lives, I'm going to take some pretty evasive action with the ghouls. And whilst Vesemir is supposed to be pretty good in the fight, he is not brilliant in this one. There are actually quite a few ghouls. I'll try and keep Quen active just for protection where I can. And actually with this fight, some of the fights earlier on in Witcher 3, you can feel a bit underpowered for. So evasive action is sometimes sensible. But it gets easier the more you kill off, of course. And having your shield just gives you some free blows. I think we're down to 1. And there we go. Let's have a little drink of bread. And there are lots of plants here, which I'm just going to pick. I don't pick all the plants in the game, but if I'm walking past some, it seems a bit silly not to. Particularly as you can generally create loads of potions from them. And I'm also going to pick the dead bodies of my foe, so venom extract and ghoul's blood. Get different things from different creatures and from humans as well. Sometimes it's worth money, sometimes it's useful for crafting. That's the crystal skull of the conjured raven. Well, she did send you a bird before. It's a bit of a dear John, so maybe that's why. Now, I know I'm going in the wrong direction, but I like to loot things, and there's a battlefield over here, and so we can maybe find something to sell or to use, or some formulae. So I'm not going to go massively into the battlefield, but I'm going to have a little look around. Most things in the game. Oh, meteorite silver plate, that's a winner. So there are a few things that you definitely want to pick up, and one is to make armour throughout the game as you go through. Initially it's really helpful to pick up meteorite, and moving on then dimeritium, and if you move on further it's helpful in the final expansion to collect orichalcum, and that's great. So we found a manuscript for potion already, albedo. I don't think I'm going to go too much further down there though. So in the earlier levels you can restore vitality by meditating, but once you get to the higher difficulties you can't do that anymore. So you need to eat, use potions. Swallow is quite useful to restore vitality. If you need an instant vitality restoration, then White Raffard's decoction. Actually, I don't think I have any of those yet. Let me have a little look. So I have the ingredients list for cat, swallow and white honey. You can see actually for swallow I've already picked up one of the ingredients, not for cat or for white honey yet. Then you can get oils which you apply to your sword. Necrophage oil, obviously useful for necrophages, so that would have been good for who we were just fighting, and spectre oil, good for ghosts. Bombs as well. Early on, destroy monster nests, don't have either of the ingredients for those. This one we can pick some more, but we'd need to buy the saltpeter, and this one we probably need to buy the calcium aquam. So I'm going to call my horse, lovely Roach. Hi Roach. Roach is a miracle horse that comes from wherever you last left him. And the little green markers that show up are very helpful for fast travel. So every time you show one up on the map, if you go back to it, you can travel directly to the other green markers from it. So this is all a bit sad. Burnt villages, people who've lost their relatives, their home, their belongings. So having a lovely jaunt in the country. And this is a cutscene. It looks like a griffin eating a horse. Charming. Though I suppose griffins get hungry too. He's taken a bit of a swipe at Vesemir. And then taking off the horse. So there's a merchant hiding near to where his horse was being eaten. I mean, I think they probably could use the money, but he didn't ask for help, and I think that's what they would do. Thanks, Bram. I'm just going to see if you have anything that I can loot from your belongings. but nothing standing out, so I'm going to jump back onto Roach and follow Vesemir. Given that it's not far away, I'm going to have a wander and pick some of the herbs on the way. They show up on the mini-map, which is useful. And as we've already said, Roach will just come whenever I call him her, which is incredibly helpful. So for the most part, you can pick everything you need and you don't need to buy things from herbalists. And I always play with no cheating, so I don't generate loads of money or anything like that for the game. So everything I use has to be my own. So this has now become Nilfgaard, and the Nilfgaardians won't be massively forgiving to anyone who's still showing the Temerian lilies. But it's alright, we know that they're in your heart if you take it down. So it's like when everyone in the bar goes quiet and you can hear a pin drop. It tends to be the reception for witches. So, contract on the Griffin. We make polite conversation before we ask for help. Okay, show me what you've got. What do you have to sell? Now, if you're into Gwent, or if you want to get all of the achievements, then it's a good idea to buy all of these Gwent cards. So it will cost money, but that's the first 5. Doesn't leave us with basses, but that's okay. Do I want to sell my banana and my sweet bun? I won't for now, just in case I need them in another fight, but I will sell her. She doesn't want those. I will sell her the ashes. I definitely don't need those. and I will sell her 3 blunt axes because I definitely don't need those either. And she doesn't want to buy anything else that I have. And now looking for a woman.
Raven-haired, violet eyes, dresses in black and white, writing in from Willoughby. And, strange as it sounds, Lilac and Gooseberries.
Interesting character in the background.
Yeah, especially hard to forget this one. Thanks for everything.
So it's Gauntro Dim, who we'll meet in a minute, features really heavily in the Hearts of Stone expansion.
Have you managed that up? Please. I'm not decrepit yet. Then I'll ask about Yennefer. Just remember, we'd rather not draw any attention.
So Vesemir being really proud about his wound, as you may expect possibly from a Witcher. I only have water left in my inventory, so what I'm going to do is, well, I have some Tournial potion there as well, which means that stamina regenerates a little bit more quickly, which is useful for signs. I'm going to equip the chicken legs. Different food generates vitality for longer, so water is 10 vitality for 60 seconds, chicken is 10 vitality for 60 seconds, sweet bun is 10 for 60, and banana is 10 for 60, but some might only last 30 seconds, for example, and I do tend to get rid of those unless I'm absolutely desperate for vitality, because I'd rather use the things that last longer and give you more bang for your buck. Okay, so let's ask these guys.
I'm looking for someone. He seems quiet. Not my face freak. Great sound weird.
It's a bit rude, isn't it? So I'm going to use Axie.
Dressed in black and white. Singer. Talk. Looks like the lady ran through the village a few days back. Had a bit so fast she knocked Kaer Morhen into a ditch. Which way did she go? Dunno. Lots of tracks leading off my road. They're not everywhere. Blind people! The freak's taking one his mind! Then I'll take your tongue if you don't shut up.
I do tend to use Axie because it usually gives you XP, which is great for increasing your character level, so why wouldn't you if you can? I'm going to go and have a chat over here, and we'll talk to Gauntro Dim next, who seems like a very pleasant man having a drink.
Like everyone, not like everyone, and not just any woman. Mine smells of lilac and gooseberries and dresses in black and white. 2 snapsies. You'll lick your spirits.
And why not drink with him?
Drink. Let me cut to the chase. You see her or not? Yennefer will thank you.
So he knows who I'm looking for, just from the description.
Never mentioned your name, yet you described her perfect. Once I hear something, I never forget. Come in. What do you do? Who are you? A mangy vagrant, called Terati, at your service. Vagrant, got a profession now. Once a merchant of mirrors, a man in crowned up master mirror, a man of glass.
So you may or may not have noticed that by saying yes to the schnapps, I got some Nilfgaardian lemonade, which is a spirit that can be used as a solvent for potion making later.
How do you know Yennefer? What a question. Master Dandelion's balance, of course. The only way a humble merchant might hope to rub up against greatness. Unless he's as brave as I am. It runs into a very patient Witcher. Into Kaer Morhen himself. The Butcher of Havoc.
So
Recognize me from Master Dandelion's balance too. So
bit mysterious.
Deepest apologies, but I must ask, is this about love?
Not sure which is going to get the preferred answer here. I think actually they both will for story progression, so I'm going to say of course it's about love.
It's love. You and him once. What do you know? Tell me. Before you appeared, it never occurred to me that might have been the end of her. All of the thought. Get to the point. An elf guardian scouted the whole garrison saw her. Where? At that camp. She rode in there. Dark and night. Black and white. Gooseberries and... Yes, I know. And a terse exchange with the garrison commander raced off. Where to? I'm not missing it. Ask at the garrison.
You might be, actually,
Thanks.
but we don't know that yet.
You and the road must stick together. Perhaps one day I'll be in trouble. You'll be near while I tell you.
Okay, so I'm going to go over here and have a quick chat with these guys as well.
What a waste of time. The earth should revolve around the sun before you come around these rules.
And again, it's optional, but it's to do with Gwent and the Collect Them All quest.
Alder Beard, assistant professor in contemporary history at Oxford Academy. Character review. Picture with tenure. I'm looking for a woman.
Taking the mickey a bit.
Black and white. Seen anyone like that? Of course not. Unlike the populace, I know the horse word is pure poppycock.
So, not that interested in talking to him really. We'll just go with that one.
What's that about? Folks say an omen. A beautiful phantom rides the fields at night, looks as you described her. Armies follow her and all who cross her path meet with misfortune. I didn't know she was last bit. When they saw her. No, fantasy interests me, not fairy tales.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
We'll reach Novigrad.
So Novigrad is a city in the north. Nilfgaard is essentially trying to take over the world and doing a pretty good job of it. So why not? We'll ask him why he's here as well. I mean, that's a bit dim-witted if you ask me. Can't imagine why anyone would want to do that. Although I suppose there are some pretty good war correspondents, journalists sometimes. Okay, so we'll have a game of Gwent. It's quite early on, so I won't have a brilliant hand. So I'm basically going to choose the cards that are worth the most, and you need to have at least 22 cards. Keep one clear weather card, but get rid of the others, otherwise they're reasonable values. Let's start the game. So I think if I swap Yarp and Zegren, I'm more likely to... I wonder if I want to keep a decoy. Yep, okay, so I will stick with those. And I get to go first, play Kira. This early on in the game, it very much depends which cards you draw from your hand, but as you progress through, you get better and better Gwent cards. So it does become more likely that you win. And these little ones with the eyes are spies, you get extra 2 cards. Roach is a bonus card from the Next Generation update, and he's tied in with the cards Geralt of Rivia and Ciri, so if you play one of those later in the game and you have them, Roach joins automatically. When you win a round, if you're playing the Northern Realms, you get to choose another card. That's Crinfield Reaver. The little hands down there show friendship, so if you have more than one and you play more than one, you have a multiplier, which I will show you with the Blue Stripes Commando. Vess is also of the Blue Stripes under Vernon Roach. So playing him will make them both worth 8. And actually I've won without clearing the weather. I could if I wanted to, but there's no need. And so I win a unique Gwent card from him, and that is how you go through the whole game and get all the Gwent cards. And I'm sure I will find myself in Oxenford at some point in the not too distant future. And we can carry on the Gwent quest. Miraculous Guide to Gwent just shows you the cards that you need to get from unique locations, and this is Yennefer's letter. It's amusing in that it's to dear friend. When Geralt is struggling with Ciri and Trisfield, she's out of her depth. He ums and ahs about how to write a letter to Yennefer, and ends up starting with dear friend, and her response is just dripping with sarcasm at the fact that it was written to dear friend. Okay, so the card that I have from him is Zoltan. So locals don't like witches, unless they need them. It's pretty mean, really. So another 25 XP. There are various fistfights in the game. That's the first of them. I mean, I really don't understand why anyone would choose to fight a witcher. It's just not the most sensible thing in the world. I'm just going to go back into the pub, and in the corner over here is stash. There are a few of these throughout the game, and you can store your stuff in there and pick them up at a different one, and they very, very helpfully just go into the different one. And I think that they have unlimited space as well, but there's nothing that I actually want to stash there at the moment. So Vestim is still over there in the corner, tending to his sore shoulder. And I am going to have a wander through the village, pick some herbs, and have a quick look at the notice board for any quests. So just here. Various notices that are either comical or related to the local circumstances, but a couple of them are usually Witcher contracts. So this one, Missing Brother, and this one, Devil by the Well. And as soon as you take those, they will just populate in your journal. So secondary quests, so collect them all, is the Gwent one that I've mentioned a few times. Missing in Action is find someone's brother, and Lilac and Gooseberries is the main quest that I'm focusing on at the moment, and then Witcher contracts, Devil by the Well. It's worth doing most of them because you generally get good gear and money and XP. But to start with, I'm going to focus on the task in hand, which is, it's just the letters. I'm going to focus on the task in hand, which is finding Yennefer. And actually there is another quest just up here. So it's a burnt down forge. There's no need for your sarcasm. So that's really sad. Because of the war, he's been forced to help the Nilfgaardians. His country is now Nilfgaard, but his friends and neighbours, who he's known for years, don't talk to him anymore. Okay, so I think I'm going to come back and do that a bit later, because it would be useful to have a smith that I can utilise. Just wandering over here and picking a few bits and pieces. The potion I'd really like is Swallow, and I need Drowner Brain for that, so I should probably try and kill some drowners at some point. You don't get a Drowner Brain necessarily every time you kill a drowner, which is not ideal. I'm just going to pick some of the things in this field as well. So this is one of the few places that you can pick loads of Arenia, which is really helpful later on for potions. And everything, I mean, they're plants, so of course they regrow. You just have to give them a little bit of time through their growth cycle. So let's finish off over here. Just have a bit of a look out for drowners by the coast, but I don't see any. I think some of the loot is random and some of it is the same every time. Yeah, quite random things to ask for. Yeah, we want to go with the sarcastic answer really, but I think Geralt will be more friendly. So it sounds simple really. Break into the building and retrieve the frying pan. I'm going to use Ard, and as I've already said, loot absolutely everything. Even if you don't want it, you can generally sell it. Have a little look at the corpse. So there's another diagram, so a new sword and diagram for a crossbow bolt and fork-tail decoction. So just take all of those. I think it's going to be a while, to be honest, before I kill any fork-tail. Let's have a look at the pan. So it makes more sense now why he asked for the random things like the coal. Just loot those as well. And is there anything that we've missed? Or just something on the floor down there. So from the first Witcher game, there is a chap called Taylor, who is a spy, or Thaler, depending how you pronounced it in your head. and it looks like he was in there writing letters and garroted someone as well for good measure.
It was the sun the man needed. He screamed it off to make ink. Must have had an urgent letter to write. Urgently burned some other documents too. Dead. Round up a few boys and bury him outside the village. Deep, so the necrophages don't dig him up. Take my advice. Don't mention this to enough guardians.
So Geralt, of course, knows that he would be or Taylor would be a Temerian spy, so better that the Nilfgaardians never know that she helped him find a way of communicating. And she's just given me some bread and some apple juice, which is really kind. I'll have a look at the map. So we are heading up here to the Nilfgaardian garrison. It's a fairly straight road, and I think I'm just going to jump onto Roach to do it. There's something dead up there. I might go and have a quick look. Oh, wolves. So wolves killing small creatures, probably hare, something like that. I'm not going to stop and get involved with them now. I'm just going to make my way over to the garrison. So there are some drowners there. And I do need some drowner brain. For one of my potions, so I'm just chasing them down. Come on, drowner. Look behind you. So level 4 drowners. I think I'm still level 1 at the moment. Crikey, they are running away from me very much. Now, as already mentioned, they don't always leave drowner brains. But sometimes they do, so it's just worth accosting them. Don't always drop anything at all. Oh, that's a little bit frustrating, but I will go and get on with my mission, see if his buddy is down here quickly. One way away. Hopefully this one will drop some brain. Oh, and I might jump into the water and grab a casket as well. Drown a brain, hurrah. Okay, that's locked. That's going to be part of a mission, which I think is going to be related to that body there. Yeah, unlock, military orders, various bits and pieces. Well, they didn't do brilliantly at escorting them, did they? Oh, and this is the letter that the spy was writing that has been mostly burnt. So there is another quest that enables me to find some lost Temerian treasure, which is presumably not far away. So it's easy to get a little bit sidetracked in these little side quests, but as I'm here and it's nearby, I might just go and have a look for the lost Temerian treasure. And there's a new quick travel marker there. I don't know if this is treasure or not, but plenty of stuff to loot. Oh, and a little shot of Ard at that. Can have a quick jump down. Hopefully there's nothing lurking. Ard again. And dark steel is great. Again, earth elemental. I'm not sure I'll be seeing any of those anytime soon. Various gauntlets. Scribbled documents. Some more stuff that I can use as a solvent. And that is all the treasure. So I think at this point it's probably worth having a look at my inventory and seeing if I can swap the sword I'm using for a better one, see if I have any better kit. I have some boots there. Quick comparison, yeah, they're much better armour, although they're not as well taken care of, and not as good against elementals, but they're generally better. Gauntlets, again not as good with elementals, but generally better. So let's swap for those. And I can't use the hatchet yet because I need to be level 3 and I'm only level 1, but the Temerian steel sword is, apart from the armour piercing element, better than the sword I'm currently using, so I'm going to swap that over as well. And I'm going to leave it there for now. And come back later.